Hey YouTube. What I'd like to talk to you today about is working out with depression. So the following video is going to have a lot of self-disclosure of information by myself, but I'm hoping by sharing this information that it might benefit somebody in some way. So I suffer from depression, and I have for pretty much my whole life. My first major depressive episode was when I was 13 years old, and it lasted for several years. I turned to food to try and make myself feel better, which ended up just making me feel worse because that resulted me in being overweight and obese for at least a decade. The second major depressive episode I had was when I was 24 years old, and that one I turned to alcohol to try and make me feel better. And that didn't go so well. I ended up at one point with a cracked skull, 17 staples holding my head together, a subdural hematoma, which is bleeding of the brain, and a third-degree concussion where I suffered amnesia and lost 24 hours of my life. And my last major depressive episode that I suffered actually occurred just over a year ago. And on that one, I turned to fitness. So I want to talk to you a little bit about my personal experience as well as ways that you can help yourself if you are feeling depressed. And the first thing that I would wholly recommend you doing, both from a personal point of view as well as from being in the medical industry, is getting help. I take these once a day. It's a drug called Cipralex. It's an antidepressant. And I can honestly say that taking that once a day is the difference between wanting to paint the walls with my brains or waking up with a smile on my face. There's nothing wrong or unmanly about getting help. A lot of people don't seek help because they feel kind of ashamed about having depression, and it's one of those diseases that just doesn't make sense to people. You can be a millionaire with a 100-bedroom mansion and, a nice car in your driveway. I don't know cars to give like an analogy. And yet you're still depressed. And it's not that it's a choice you make. Your brain chemistry is working against you. So get help. Go see a medical professional. The drugs that are out there to make you feel better are so inexpensive. I mean, it's less than the cost of a cup of coffee from Tim Hortons a day. I live in Canada, so we do Tim Hortons. I don't really know what you do in the States if I have any US watchers or viewers. So go get help, and don't feel ashamed about looking for help. The second thing you can do is work out regularly. And this is the advice of a lot of physicians. And the reason is when you work out, your serotonin levels go up, your dopamine levels rise, your epinephrine and norepinephrine spike. And what this does is these are the feel-good neurotransmitters. So it's going to make you feel good by having worked out. So if you work out for 1, 2, 3 hours a day, you're actually going to spike these chemicals in your brain that make you feel good. When I suffered my last episode, before my medication kicked in, I was working out 2, 3, 4 hours a day, basically spiking these drugs in or these chemicals in my brain to make me feel better. And it became to the point where working out became therapy. I mean, I still today work out 2 or 3 hours a day, but those are now, instead of just making me feel good, I'm chasing fitness goals when I do that. So working out is a great thing for you in order to make you feel better and in order to help deal with your depression. Even if you don't seek medical advice and drugs, or pharmaceuticals, I should say. Drugs kind of has a negative connotation. Working out can do wonders for you. And the third thing that you can do is make proper food and alcohol choices. Alcohol is a depressant. Sometimes when you drink, you start to initially feel good, and then all of a sudden you start to feel really bad. Maybe you break down crying, or you just feel terrible. And then you wake up the next morning and you have never felt worse in your whole life. It's because alcohol is a depressant, and when you're not feeling good, it's gonna make you feel even worse. And then on top of that, you're probably gonna miss your workout. So now you're depressed, and you're doing nothing to raise those chemicals in your brain. as well as food choices. As a guy who initially turned to food in order to feel better, you know, you eat those cookies that have the sugar in it, raises your blood sugar level. You feel minorly happy for a little bit because there is an association between dopamine levels in the brain and sugar intake. So if you're feeling bad, you might actually feel a little bit good from cramming donuts or cupcakes in your face temporarily. But then once that sugar high drops, so do then the dopamine levels in your brain, and you feel worse. So I guess in a nutshell, what I'm saying is there's nothing to be ashamed of with getting help. It can make all the difference in the world. Make working out a regular thing for you, and make it a part of your routine, because routine is very important when you are depressed. And start making healthier life choices. All these things combined can honestly take you from not wanting to get out of bed and just not being able to face the world to being a normal human being. And I say normal in the sense of your disease no longer affects your day-to-day life. If you guys have any questions about my personal experiences or anything like that, I'm more than happy to answer them. If not, I hope this video has been somewhat informative. Sorry for it being 6 or 7 minutes long or however it is. Have a good day.